right, ladies and gents. That's right, when we're not talking horror, you're not boils and ghouls no more. You're just ladies and gents. You guys voted for this one. I was very, very excited to talk my second favorite comedy ever made with Clue, but this one overtook it. I'm guessing from the Jurassic Park fan base. This is a magical movie for me. Because I remember I saw this in theaters in 93. I was 5 years old. Maybe 5, about 5. But I think this is just one of those movies that for most of us, when we saw it, and just for all of cinema, the whole industry, this is the movie that really showed us what computers and CGI is capable of. Like what we are able to do with this technology. This is the film that always sticks out to me. I mean, we have Steven Spielberg directing here. He was already king of the castle, like before this point. So we got him directing here. The cast is phenomenal. And this movie relaunched the careers. I mean, I don't want to say rejuvenated their careers completely, as all of them were well-established and successful actors at that point. But you didn't see him much in mainstream films. Like Sam Neill we had in Possession from 81. Crazy movie. In the Mouth of Madness by Carpenter. And he was in a decent amount of horror movies. The Omen 3. And they're all great movies. So he was more known outside of the spotlight a bit before this film. I mean, Jeff Goldblum did The Fly and a few other films. Laura Dern was working with David Lynch on Blue Velvet. So they all came from great places. But this is the film that they blew up with. Like everyone, and it pisses me off a lot when I talk to younger people and mention Sam Neill and they say, oh, the Jurassic Park guy, right? That just drives me nuts, because then that tells me they haven't seen the aforementioned movies with Sam Neill in it, and it just makes me start to fume. But the cast is great in here. I always forget the damn guy's name who plays John Hammond, but he was fantastic too. Lex and Tim, I mean, it's alright. They give a little bit of iffy delivery here and there, but the whole scene with the T-Rex is just infamous. And that was a prop gone wrong. Like the fact that they used, first of all, animatronics and puppets and actual practical effects, then mixed it with CGI, I think is what makes this film timeless. Like this movie's like under protection, the register of culturally significant films. For damn good reason. Like I said, this is pretty much the movie that showed us the power of CGI. And all these years later, it still looks fantastic. Like for me, they all look great, the dinosaurs in this movie. There isn't one shot in this film that takes me out of the movie and says, the CGI doesn't look that great nowadays. No. Like, the whole film looks fantastic. And the story of this movie is excellent also. I've read the book years ago, Michael Crichton. He's written a lot of good books that turned into films. He wrote and directed Westworld, the 70s movie that HBO relaunched with the great first 2 seasons. Stopped watching after that. He also wrote the sequel, Lost World. We'll get to that movie. You know that now that we started Jurassic Park, it's a franchise. So now you know what that means. That means we're going through the whole franchise now. So we're going Critters and Jurassic Park side by side. He also wrote Congo, which, I'm sorry, I like that movie. People shit on Congo way too much. He wrote a lot of stuff great. And the novel, as I recall, was a lot darker than this movie. Like, they try to get there, like, to the same, like, real dark tone of the novel a few times, like with the severed arm when Laura Dern's in there. You got Samuel L. Jackson. I forgot all about him until I mentioned that severed arm. He's in here too. We got Newman from Seinfeld. Like, this movie couldn't have been better cast than who we got here. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. So without further ado, let's head on over to Jurassic Park from 1993. Oh, and don't worry. Even though this is an excellent movie and means so much to me, there is a bunch of dumbass shit in this movie too that we'll point out as we go along. Especially as we go on through this series, starting with Lost World. Even though I do love that movie. I have a lot of nostalgia for Lost World. If you couldn't tell from Lost World and the Mouth of the Water that Flies, that movie does mean a lot to me. But there is such stupid shit in that film too. So I love the opening here that we just see at nighttime. They're trying to transport the dinosaurs. You don't see them at all. You hear them. And we find out that we are, 120 miles west of Costa Rica. Isla Nublar, which I have a whole issue with already in Lost World. I should save this for them, but whatever. They say, John Hammond says to Ian Malcolm in the second movie that they have a Site B, Isla Sorna, and they bred the dinosaurs there and then brought them over to Nublar. And that's bullshit, because we see in this movie, we see the dinosaurs hatching out of the eggs. And Hammond says, I request to be here every time one of them is born. So they didn't breed them on Isla Sorna. Shit was just made up for that movie. Feels good getting that out. Also, don't come back at me with they bred them on Sorna and then they brought the eggs to Nublar. No, because why are they keeping all the fucking DNA for all the dinosaurs on Nublar if they got another island or something? This has nothing to do with this movie. Let's wait for the next one. So as if they needed some type of bad omen to happen right off the bat, the guy gets killed by the raptors at the beginning. And kind of interesting science-wise when you think about it. This was 93. Back then we were still thinking dinosaurs were more, like related to reptiles than birds. Then as the films go on, I think starting in 3 or so, you see the raptors with feathers and stuff more like that of a bird than of a reptile. I think it's interesting. It's like a little time capsule for where we were scientifically and what we knew about dinosaurs just 30-something years ago. But the raptor's eyes and everything look great. The guy gets eaten, and I always forget this actor's name too, but the guy who plays the raptor coach, or whatever you want to call it, who gives that fantastic monologue about the raptors, and he says they're testing the fences systematically. They remember that dude. Fantastic. Awesome speech he gives there too. So after that disaster, we finally meet Dr. Alan Grant and Dr. Sattler. It is so funny when this fat little kid goes up to him and says it looks like it's not that intimidating, it's not scary, it looks like a turkey. Then Grant scares the shit out of this kid with the raptor claw. He's like, no, it's the ones that come from the side. And then how they kill you, they spill your intestines out and he's going, this kid is never going to go near a raptor if he ever went to Jurassic World or Park. But that kid don't know how close he was calling it a turkey. I mean, they are closer to birds. Just to get it on the record, too, I had a lot of Jurassic Park toys as a kid. I'm talking 5, 6, 7 years old. All the T-Rex and dinosaurs and stuff like that. Dilophosaurus and this shit. I had them all. So I really liked dinosaurs as a kid. Then we get the amazingly convenient trope we see in so many movies that they're dig in operation, they're running out of money, they got no money left. And just when they need an opportunity... Opportunity knocks with John Hammond coming and doesn't tell them much of anything. Just says, come to my island and stuff and I'll finance the rest of your dick. So I like how they set that up too. He doesn't even tell them what it's about. Doesn't say there's dinosaurs there or anything. Just to get their awesome reactions when they first see the brontosaurus when they first get to the park. I will say, as much as I love the character of John Hammond, his sparing no expense shit, it gets old fast. After the second time... Okay, cool, what else you got? He repeats that 5 times in this movie. It gets a little grating. And then we got Newman, who's meeting up with some competitor of John Hammond's who wants the dino DNA. And they're going to pay him a shit ton of money to sneak all this DNA off Dino Island. Which I'm surprised. Someone correct me if I'm wrong, because it's been a while since I've seen the later movies. They never went back to the whole... dinosaur DNA in the shaving cream thing when he dies later, right? Well, is it Dilophosaurus, I think? With the, that fucker. When he kills him, he drops the shaving cream can that has the DNA in it. And then it gets covered with mud. They never went back to that, right? Because that would have been a good jumping off point for a sequel. Where'd the dinosaurs come from this time or something? And we found the DNA in this shaving kit when we were scoping the island out. I don't know, they never went back to that. So they get on a helicopter with Hammond, Jeff Goldblum, Dr. Malcolm, as well as the blood-sucking lawyer, as John Hammond calls him, which I like that character too. And I like his kill, and I like just how we're going to make a fucking fortune with this place. And he's absolutely correct if all this stuff didn't happen afterwards. I never understood the whole confusion with the seatbelt that Dr. Grant has. He's trying to put a seatbelt on, but it's the two vagina ends. That one won't go in. They're 2 female parts. They won't go in. John Hammond is sparing no expense for everything, but yet his helicopter doesn't have the right seatbelt. Doesn't make sense to me. It never has. When you think about it, actually, it makes a lot of sense. If this is what he accepted as good work for his helicopter. No wonder the T-Rex and dinosaurs get out of their paddocks and start killing people. He outsourced to the cheapest bidder. Let me say this, it still gets you. At least for me, rewatching this movie every time. Just, first of all, the score from John Williams is fantastic in this movie. It's iconic. Everyone knows the theme to Jurassic Park. What a brilliant composition. And just their initial reactions, the awe that they show of seeing an actual dinosaur living right in front of them. Now, I don't know behind the scenes stuff really for this movie too much. So I don't know if there was a full animatronic there and there was some real reaction from what they were seeing, or if a lot of it is CGI. It's hard to tell with this movie, and I really, if I think about it, it's probably because Dean Cundey is the cinematographer for this movie, and he is just fantastic. He's an absolute legend, Dean Cundey, and I think that he's one of the major reasons that this film doesn't look dated to this day. The way this film is shot, mixed with the way they use both practical effects, animatronics, puppets, and CGI all together, this was just the perfect blend. Okay, now since it's on my mind, I'm paying attention to the CGI more than I ever have watching this. And Attenborough, that's Hammond's actor's name. Can't remember his first name, but Attenborough came to me. But after their first reactions, and then they walk up to the Brontosaurus, and Dr. Grant is standing real close to it. It's very obvious and very clear that he's standing in front of a green screen, and they most likely had that projected behind him. I don't know how much of it was actually there, but you can see it. But you really do have to look for it. It's not glaring, blinding you in the face, making you say, oh, look at the CGI, look at the green screen that he's standing in front of. You really do have to really pay attention to it. I think that's a testament to how fucking well this movie was made. Which this movie, at the time, was the biggest selling movie of all time, right? It beat out E.T. from Spielberg. So it beat himself out for the highest grossing film of all time. I think it's still in the top 20 or something like that, right? But I mean, there's no denying how huge this movie was when this came out. Then we get that great panning shot where we really start to see different types of dinosaurs. And Grant says they're moving in herds. They do move in herds with the music from Williams. All of that is still breathtaking. If you're really in the mood for it, this movie still hits. Which kind of pisses me off. Because then I think of the later entries, which I've never really given my opinion on any of these movies, but I think this is a masterpiece of a movie. The Lost World has a lot of issues, but I still love it. 3 is a train wreck, but I can still watch it. William H. Macy is a fantastic actor, and we have Sam Neill back in it, but all of it's stupid as hell. Jurassic World is kind of shitty too, and so is the 1 or 2 that we got. I don't even know how many of these we have now. Those aren't that great either. So this is the only great film. So watching it again and really just getting sucked into it, it's making me kind of pissed off. Yeah, that this is the apex of this franchise, and it just nosedives from here. Also, let me be clear on Lost World Jurassic Park. A lot of it, my love for it, has to do with Jeff Goldblum. It's almost 90% Jeff Goldblum. That makes that movie for me. And a few scenes, the trailer off the cliff and all of that. The classic scenes that everybody likes and doesn't like the rest of. That's pretty much the whole reason I love that movie, is Jeff Goldblum. And Julianne Moore, and Vince Vaughn is funny in it at times too. The cast is great too, actually. But we'll get there. So earlier at the very beginning after the attack, we see the archaeologist who finds the tree sap with the mosquito in it that Hammond puts on his little walking stick, which is cool. And then they go on the little attraction that shows them with the whole DNA video and everything. And John Hammond stands there and has the whole talk with himself. I'm always guessing it's just for them, right? Because he's not going to be there doing it every single time, right? He's the head of this whole company. There's no way he's going to be standing there doing this little back and forth routine with the video screen for every tour. I don't know. It's just for them is what I've always taken from that. But I love their reactions and how they want to see more, and they're just so enthused and interested. They're just well, wait, how do you interrupt the cellular mitosis? And they're asking all these questions. He's just in time. He just wants them to watch his whole show, right? Even the video screen with Hammond multiplying, like cloning himself over and over again, even that looks a little iffy now, but still, again, you gotta look for it and be trying to pick apart the CGI. Always forget we have B.D. Wong in here also as one of the scientists, and he's in one of the later ones too, one or two of them, right? Jurassic World and the sequel. So they end up being explained to that the way they did this was taking missing pieces of the dinosaur DNA and filling it with that of frogs. And we hear the famous words from Dr. Malcolm in a little bit, that life will find a way. And of course we know that it does, and that some of the frogs can change gender. And that turned into Dino fucking 101. But trust me, that's not the only issues that led to this disaster. A lot of it has to do with John Hammond sparing no expense. Then we get to see the awesome scene with the raptor being born out of the egg. All of that looks great. Like, all of it really holds up. Yeah, then we get that whole awesome monologue from the raptor trainer guy. How smart these raptors actually are. That they're testing the electric fences systematically. They don't attack the same place twice. They remember what they're doing. Like, that's how brilliant these fucking things were. And it's a great way to set up for how dangerous they actually are for later in the movie. Even though there are scenes where they are absolutely retarded. I also really like the cut gag from John Hammond saying who's hungry, because they just fed the cow to the raptors. Then it cuts to Dr. Sattler getting her pork chops or whatever, like, put in front of her. That always makes me chuckle. The whole relationship between Dr. Grant and Tim is so cute. Like, still to this day, it gets a little annoying after a bit with Tim, but him just being, like, so infatuated with this guy, and just, like, he loves dinosaurs, and he read his book, and he wants to talk to him and sit next to him, and Sattler's having a laugh at this. She's, like, pushing him to go sit with him all the time, because he's, like, he doesn't like kids, as we saw in the beginning with the raptor kid. Dr. Grant don't care for children much. He'd fit right in around here. But their whole little dynamic and stuff is very fun, especially as it goes on and he has to save them, and then he ends up really caring for these kids. It's a great little arc that they have. So they get in the iconic looking tour cars, and we go up to the infamous gate of Jurassic Park. And they start the tour out with 2 no-shows. I mean, man, if you got a lawyer there and you have, like, specialists that you want to impress, you'd want to make sure the dinos show up to the show, right? See, this is what I mean. This is just one example of many that John Hammond's a fucking idiot. Then they end up getting off the trams and they go see the Triceratops. The sick one. You always feel bad for it. My sister always used to say, after they show it here, you never hear about its ass again. Like, so is it okay? Did it live? Is it alive? No one seems to care. But it looks great to this day. She's checking the huge pile of shit for berries or anything to see what is making him sick. Or her, whatever this dino is, it chooses to be its own gender. Quite literally, as they have the frog DNA that does that. So these dinosaurs were, like, really progressive and ahead of the times. Then we have Dennis Nedry Newman from Seinfeld stealing the dino DNA. He puts a huge hack on the system that nobody can get into unless they restart the entire system over. Shuts all the power to everything in the park down to be able to bring it back up. That's their plan, to bring things back online. But because everything went down, those fences aren't electric no more. And we see Nedry get killed by the Dilophosaurus with the which again is just awesome. Then after earlier, when the T-Rex would not come for the goat, Lexi notices, where's the goat? And then I love the goat gets thrown, what's left of the goat, thrown onto the car. And then this whole infamous scene, there was a malfunction with the T-Rex prop. It wasn't meant to come crashing down through the glass window, through the top of the car on them like that. That was a malfunction. So their reactions under the glass is absolutely genuine, which makes it really, really terrifying when you think about it and watch it that way. These are young kids, and they did not expect for this thing to come crashing down on them. So all of that just adds to how effective this scene is with the T-Rex, and just grants knowledge of everything with dinosaurs. And don't move. They can't see you if you don't move. Dr. Malcolm tries to help out with the kids and everything, get them safe, but he fucks up with the flare and he holds it for too long and he gets chased by the dinosaur. He gets knocked out, and then we get the awesome scene with the lawyer, the blood-sucking agent, sitting on the toilet. Then he just gets chomped like halfway through his body, eaten and swallowed. And it looks great, and it's hilarious every single time. Then with the car being pushed around with Dr. Grant and the kids, and then they have to bungee their way down the wall, which, yeah, we're talking about this. This is a famous argument for the scene here, but it's true. Where did that T-Rex come from? You know what I'm talking about? Because we see the goat earlier. It looks like it's solid ground behind that fence. And the T-Rex comes from that direction. He comes through the fence. But then when they are getting almost hit by the car and they're climbing down, it's like a full drop, like hundreds of feet. So where did that T-Rex come from? How did he get to the fence? None of that makes sense, and I've never heard a good explanation for it. Then we got Tim stuck in the tree in the car, and they have to get him out, and they spend the night together, the three of them. He says, I'll stay up all night. We get the little cute scene when the Brontosaurus, whatever, sneezes on Lex, and she's so grossed out, because who the hell wouldn't be? But before their peaceful night, we see Sattler and the raptor trainer. It's really driving me nuts. I can't think of this guy's name. They find Malcolm, and they find what's left of the lawyer, and then we have the infamous chase scene, which is, it looks great. Like, all of it looks great. You can, again, if you look, you can see it, the CGI, and where it is, where it ends, but it doesn't matter. It looks fantastic, and Jeff Goldblum is amazing, as always, and hilarious. But it must go faster, must go faster. All of that, and it's coming up so close to the car, and they're looking through the rearview mirror. What a great scene. And then they end up losing it. Then we literally see John Hammond depression eating ice cream with Sattler, which is hilarious. But he's worried as hell because, you know, the kids are out there and everything, and this is all falling apart on his first show at this place, right? They never say if this was the first people he brought there, right? We never get a confirmation on that. Because it seems like these are the first people to see the dinosaurs at this park and to go on this tour and everything. Like, he wanted the lawyer there and he wanted all these specialists. Do you guys think that he brought anybody else prior to them to see this and to go through it? Did they ever have a successful run? Is what I'm getting at. In any way, shape, or form. Because this is the first time, always in my eyes. And he fucks up royally. And then somehow they're able to open a park again, a much bigger one, later on in the series. I love the scene with Lex, Tim, and Dr. Grant, where we see the T-Rex again in the daytime, and he chomps down on one of the turkey-looking dinosaurs. I'm not a dinosaur fucking expert, alright? So we're gonna get shit wrong throughout this series. But they're all hiding behind the log, and they're looking over it, and Lex is like, I want to leave. I'm like, please, can we leave? This girl is terrified. And both the guys, they're just looking, he's like, look how he eats. And then Tim is still standing there when they leave. And he's like, look at all the blood or something like that. All of that's hilarious. This is another part of the movie that's very suspenseful. Like, two scenes going on at the same time. When we have Sattler going to run to where she has to turn on the main breaker to bring the power for the whole park up again so they can get the systems online. And they intercut that with Tim on the fence, you know, when she's about to bring it online. That used to freak me out as a kid. Like, seeing Tim, it looked too real back then. Of seeing him get electrocuted and then falling back off the fence into Grant's arms. It still holds up. But that used to creep little me out. Then we get the awesome raptor trainer guy. He gets taken out. I love his line of, clever girl. He knows the way they hunt. He knows how smart they are. And he notices just a tad too late, I'm looking at the wrong one. I should be looking over here. And he gets his ass demolished. Then we get the great scene with the raptors in the kitchen, stalking and trying to kill the kids, where we see that they're not that smart. Not as smart as we'll let on, because they're fooled by a reflection. So they're kind of fucking stupid. They may be good pack hunters, but like solitary by themselves, they're not too intelligent. You can handle them. I mean, hell, we got somebody who trains them in like 3 movies. But then we have them trying to hold the door shut. And then this is some of the most convenient bullshit in a movie I've ever seen. The fact that Lex is a hacker, self-proclaimed hacker, and specifically uses Unix And the same system the park uses, and she just happens to be this hacker, knows how to use this program, and is able to single-handedly bring the system back online. That is some of the most forced bullshit I've ever seen in a movie to try to resolve an issue. Then the raptors are still after them. They're all climbing on the T-Rex skeleton, and then the actual T-Rex comes to the rescue and saves the day unknowingly, and they're able to get away, which is such a great shot with the T-Rex, and he does the roar, banner falls to the ground. What a great shot that is. Are you serious? And they get on that helicopter that doesn't have seatbelts put in correctly, and like with I think every single movie in this whole franchise ends with the survivors flying off in a helicopter and the music kicking in. So excellent movie. Like, this is a near masterpiece for me. Even just for how significant this movie was on film, and for all the nostalgia I have for seeing this so young in theaters and being blown away by actually thinking dinosaurs might be on the screen I'm watching. But then we have to wonder about pterodactyls, and we never see them until the third movie, and we never understand how, are they trapped there, or can they fly around? And if they can fly around, how come people aren't seeing pterodactyls flying all over the world? We got a whole bunch of stupid shit to talk about as we go on with this franchise. So, whoever voted Jurassic Park, thanks, because this was a blast. So, Jurassic Park from 1993, the original, the best, the supreme of the franchise. Lost World, coming up sometime soon. Hope everybody's having a great morning, afternoon, or night. Talk to you guys soon. Take care, everybody.